I work. So you are the chief medical correspondent for ABC.
Correct.
Okay, so my name is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hello, and I am with Instinct Magazine. We're one of the leading LGBT communications online,
Nice.
pop culture, and news.
Nice.
So I know you have a book you've written,
Right.
Life After Suicide.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit, is that kind of is it a more of a self-help book for people who have experienced this, or what is the actual topic of the book?
It's both a personal story of the last 2 years of our life, my life and my children's life after my ex-husband and their father died by suicide just over 2 years ago. And I also share the stories of other suicide survivors. And really, the effort was made so that people could understand that what they're going through, while it might feel very solitary, actually is something that millions and millions of people are going through right now in this country, having lost a loved one to suicide.
Right.
So the focus is not on prevention, because I'm not a mental health expert.
Okay.
This is really a personal story, and it's what I've learned going through the process myself. But the focus is on the work life and healing after a tragedy like that.
And do you find that with different walks of life of people who've experienced this, you find common denominators, though, of like, as different as we may seem, there are these things that are all connected as to why perhaps this happens?
Well, again, unfortunately, one of the things that I learned after my ex-husband's suicide is that suicide by definition is an irrational act. So when rational people try to understand an irrational act, oftentimes it doesn't produce any hard answers, because the person who has the answers is unfortunately not here anymore.
Right.
But instead, I put the focus on going forward and the potential for post-traumatic growth and the ups and downs that are part of life after you lose someone you love to suicide. And as you know, LGBTQ teens and young adults are a particularly high-risk population.
Absolutely. Yes.
As are physicians in the medical profession and veterans. So, the focus in the book was really to share inspiring stories of healing that at the same time highlighted a lot of the different vulnerable groups.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. And I have one further question, if I may, which also deals with families or loved ones who are dealing with a loss such as a suicide of a loved one. Feelings of guilt or I missed a cue. I've gone through that personally.
Sure.
So do you address that at all in the book?
Almost every page. Shame, blame, anger, guilt are big parts, unfortunately, of what people go through when they lose a loved one to suicide. And part of my hope with the book was really to show many, many people that there's so many of us going through those emotions, so they might be common, but I share some ways that I've tried to deal with it, what I've learned in the process,
personal anecdotes and stories.
And what other people have gone through. And I think that ultimately, my son said it best when he said, Dad died of a disease like cancer. And we wouldn't blame anyone if someone died of cancer.
Right.
We shouldn't blame anyone if someone loses their battle to mental illness. So that's helped me a lot.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Because most of our readers, of course, are LGBTQ, so they are a vulnerable group. So thank you for that insight. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Okay.
Corey.
Have a
Nice
lovely
talking
night.
to you.
Thank you.
Good things come to those